Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Let's talk about what happens when you need to go get emergency care, right? You have chest pain, you have an accident, you fall down, you get hurt, and you need to go to the emergency room, and you have no other insurance. How does that work with the VA, and what sort of responsibility do you have? Because guess what? You do have a responsibility to ensure that you don't get the bill. Now, let's jump into it. I'm going to share this information with you. I'll put information in the description below. With that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. And let me tell you this. If you already know the process, awesome. If you do, don't get off the video. Let the video run as long as you can anyway, because it tells YouTube it's worth sending to other veterans. And that creates more awareness among us all. For those that don't know how this process works, which is really important. If you want to support the channel in other ways, consider being a member. You can go to the homepage. You'll see the highlighted members and a join button. Thank you so much to all you members. I do my best to get back to you in the comments. All right, so let's jump into this. The headline here in the VA's, buried deep into the VA's website, is Getting Emergency Care at Non-VA Facilities. All right, so again, it's getting care at a non-VA facility in an emergency type of a situation. All right, so it goes on to say, if you think your life or health is in danger, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency department. You do not need to check with us first. Because it's an emergency in nature, you don't need to get pre-authorization, although the VA does provide that in some cases. So you could call the 800 number for the VA healthcare. You could tell them that you want to schedule an appointment, and if it's too far out, they're having issues with that, any sort of problems, they could authorize, kind of do a pre-authorization of you to go seek emergency care for your specific circumstance. Moving on, it says here, but if you go to a non-VA facility, even one that's in our community care network, you must follow certain rules so we can cover the costs for your care. That is a very important sentence. You must follow certain rules so that we can cover the cost of your care. What does that mean, right? Well, it means if you don't follow certain rules, you will be stuck with the cost of your care, which, going to an emergency room, for those that have ever been, not a good place to walk away with the bill from. Moving on, it says to keep going on this page to find out the information that you need regarding VA, non-VA facility for emergency care. All right, so next section here, it's what to know if you go to a non-VA facility for emergency care. The facility must be an emergency department. We can only cover the costs of emergency care at an emergency department. An emergency department is a facility that has the staff and equipment to provide emergency care, like a hospital or freestanding emergency department. Now, typically, if you're contacting an ambulance service, they're going to take you to an emergency department. If you're driving yourself, you're not driving down to your local general practitioner knocking on their door. You're driving to the hospital where it has the big emergency sign, that type of stuff. All right, so urgent care facilities, in that same kind of vein, urgent care facilities do not qualify as emergency departments. If you're not sure what type of facility you should go to, you can contact the VA and they can help. All right, moving on. We must get notified. The VA, this is, if you want to stop early, you could stop after this. This is the most important piece, in my opinion. It says here, we, which means the VA must get notified of your care at that emergency department within 72 hours. Within 72 hours. I suggest, look, if you carry your VA ID card with you, put a little sticky note on the back of it with the phone number to contact the VA to notify them. There's two ways you can notify them. You can go through their VA Emergency Care Reporting Portal, which is online, or you can call them at 844-724-7842. So again, it's 844-724-7842. I'll put it in the description as well. That is the most important phone number you will need if you go get emergency care. contact them within 72 hours of you stepping foot through the doors of that emergency room and getting checked in, and let them know. So moving on, and give that information to the emergency department people, right? They're gonna, who's your insurance? It's the VA. Here's their phone number. Here's my social, right? And my name. All right. We must get notified within 72 hours of when your emergency care starts. We prefer that the provider notify us, but if they don't, you, the veteran, or someone acting on your behalf can notify us instead. Let your spouse know, that type of stuff. The thing here is, I believe, this is just me, look, notify them if you have the wherewithal, because you can't count on anybody else doing it in the time frame of 72 hours, right? So it's 72 hours goes quick, especially if you're in an emergency type of a situation. So if you have the ability to, call yourself. If you don't, have your spouse call. Let them know about this little tricky thing, right? If you really, anybody, right, who has a spouse or significant other should just say, hey, look, if I ever need VA, if I ever need to go to an emergency room, contact the VA and let them know right away. Like right away, let them know that I am at the emergency room and notify them. It's a very, very important piece of making sure that your care gets covered. It says we can only cover emergency care when you meet certain requirements. It says to keep reading on for these requirements. So now we're there. Emergency care eligibility requirements. Okay, this is important as well for those that are hanging on. And here's the thing. Look, you could be 30 and have to go to the emergency room. It's important you understand that, right? It's not just for 70, 80, 90-year-old vets, right? Anything could put you in the emergency room. And if VA healthcare is your only healthcare, you need to know this stuff. All right. In most cases, we, the VA, will provide or cover the cost of your emergency mental health care and up to 90 days of related services, even if you're not enrolled in VA healthcare. If a healthcare provider or trained crisis responder determines you're at risk of immediate self-harm, we can provide or cover the cost of your care if you meet at least one of these requirements. You got 3 bullets. You were sexually assaulted, battered, or harassed while serving in the armed forces. You served on active duty for more than 24 months and didn't get a dishonorable discharge. Or the 3rd bullet point, you served for more than 100 days under a combat exclusion or in support of a contingency operation, including as a member of the reserve, and didn't get a dishonorable discharge. You meet this requirement if you served directly or if you operated an unmanned aerial vehicle from another location. If you go to a non-VA emergency department for help, tell the staff you're a veteran. Ask them to contact us right away. Moving on, eligibility for other emergency care. So this is other than mental health. So mental health is that. Now we're moving into the everything else. General eligibility requirements. By law, we can only cover the cost of your care at a non-VA emergency department if you meet all of these requirements. If you meet all of these requirements, there's 4 bullet points, and it's all ands. Okay, you have to meet all of this stuff that I'm going to rattle off. You're enrolled in VA healthcare, or you have a qualifying exemption from enrollment. Okay, chances are most people, you're going to get enrolled in VA healthcare. And again, this is another good reason to be enrolled into VA healthcare for those that are not. Moving on, a VA healthcare facility or other federal facility that could provide the needed care wasn't feasibly available. Okay, that's a very low bar. Feasibly available, meaning it was too far away for you to get there fast enough to get the emergency care you needed, would be an example, right? Which, if it's an emergency situation, you're going to go to the nearest emergency facility. A person with an average knowledge of health and medicine, right, just a normal person, would reasonably believe that a delay in seeking care would have put your life or health in danger. Okay, not death, just danger, right? So I have chest pains. I'm 40. I've never had any sort of problem. I'm not 40, but let's pretend for a minute. I'm 40 years old. I've never had any problems. I'm in physically good shape, but I had these weird chest pains. My family has some heart issues. Well, an average person would go, hey, look, you probably should just go get that checked out, right? Better safe than sorry. So if that's the kind of mindset, then you go get checked out. Moving on, if you meet our other requirements based on your specific situation, including the time limit for us to receive your claim, keep reading to learn more about the requirements for different situations. Note, we only cover non-VA emergency care until we can safely transfer you to a VA or other federal facility. The only time this rule doesn't apply is if the community provider contacts us and we can't accept your transfer. More emergency care coverage requirements. In addition to the general eligibility requirements, you must also meet these other requirements based on your specific situation. All right. Wow. There's a lot going on. Okay. So there's 5 different situations here. Authorized emergency care. Okay. We only consider your emergency care authorized if your care meets the requirements listed here. Your care must meet both of these requirements. The community emergency facility is in our community care network, and we get notified of your care within 72 hours of when you got to the emergency department. Notation, if we don't get notified of your care within 72 hours, we won't automatically deny your claim, but you'll need to meet the requirements for unauthorized emergency care. Okay, so there's 2 levels, authorized, right, and unauthorized. So we know what authorized is. Authorized would be either you got it before you even went there, or you contacted the VA within 72 hours, right? They'll consider that authorized. Unauthorized, what happens? If we don't consider your care authorized, we may still cover the cost of your care if you meet at least one of these requirements. You got 3 bullet points here, and it's any one of these. One is your emergency care was for a in-service connected condition, for a service-connected condition, or a condition that was made your service-connected condition worse. Or you have a VA disability rating of permanently and totally disabled, or you needed the care to help you return to the VA Veteran Readiness and Employment Program. Okay. Next, we define a service-connected condition as a condition you have a VA disability rating for. If you already paid for the care yourself, we may be able to pay you back or reimburse you. So let's see here. Unauthorized emergency care for non-service connected conditions. So how about that? If you got emergency care for a non-service connected condition, okay, so you got in a car wreck or something, or you're having heart problems, but you're not service connected for any of that type of stuff, we may still cover the cost of care if you meet all of these requirements. There's 3 bullet points. You got the care in a hospital emergency department or other facility that provides emergency care to the public. Next is you got care at VA or in-network community facility during the last 24 months before you got the emergency care. This is an important kind of cascading thing from hearing continue going to the VA, continue to be seen by the VA, continue to go to the VA, right? Because in order to get approved for unauthorized emergency care for non-service connected conditions, you must have gotten care from the VA or an in-network community facility during the last 24 months before you got the emergency care. Important. You needed the care, this is the last bullet, you needed the care because of an injury or accident. You and the emergency provider must have already tried all other ways that you could to get a third party like other insurance company to pay for the treatment. If you must pay for the care yourself, we may be able to pay you back or reimburse you. All right, so what if you have other health insurance? If you have other health insurance, the VA has limits on what they can cover. If your insurance doesn't fully cover the cost of your emergency care, we may cover certain costs that you must pay yourself. But we can't cover those costs if the insurance won't pay because you or the provider didn't follow the rules of the insurance company. So in other words, if the insurance company would have paid for certain things, but somebody dropped the ball somewhere, the VA is not going to come in and fix that, okay? But what they will do is if it's just an exclusion from what they're willing to cover, then the VA may pay for it. So for an example, we can't cover the costs if you or the provider failed to submit a bill or medical records within the company's time limits, or if you haven't already tried all ways to appeal the payment denial. A notation, if your other insurance charges copays, we can't reimburse you for the copays. Last one here, emergency care in countries outside the U.S. This is an important one for some folks. We can only pay for emergency care outside the U.S. if the care is related to a service-connected condition. We define a service-connected condition as a condition you have a VA disability rating for, which again goes to the you should just get rated for everything, right? Be properly rated, be rated for the things that you should be rated for. Look at all your secondaries, that type of stuff. If you have any questions, you can contact the VA's Foreign Medical Care Program at 877-345-8179. Here's the good question for you here that we'll wrap it up with. What to do if you're charged for emergency care? If you get a bill for emergency care at a non-VA facility and you think the VA should cover the costs, you should contact them at 877-881-7618. They're there Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They'll go over the charges with you and help you figure out who should cover the cost of your care. We can also help resolve billing issues with community providers. All right, so the big piece is if you go to an emergency room or emergency department within or if you go to one, you need to contact the VA within that first 72 hours. You can contact them at the 844-724-7842. Again, it'll be in the description. Or it could be you, the provider, or a loved one that can call that number. Or you can also go through the VA Emergency Care Reporting Portal, which I should be able to get a hyperlink in there. If not, you can Google search that and it should show up. All right, with that, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great one, and remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.